Hello, today I'll be showing you guys my CD collection for Alice in Chains, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots, and more. More meaning just two other CDs, but yeah, I believe I did do this video before one other time on my channel, and I believe it was around 5 years ago or so actually, which was definitely a long time ago, but yeah, I've definitely gotten more CDs since then, so this will pretty much be an updated version. But we're going to go ahead and start off with Alice in Chains, starting with, of course, their debut album, Facelift, which is my favorite album from them. I know a lot of people go with Dirt, but I'm more of a Facelift guy, but both are great, of course. And then next we have Sap, the Sap EP. Brother probably being my favorite on there. And then we got Dirt, which is, of course, a grunge classic. Then we got Jar of Flies, which is, to me, one of the greatest EPs of all time, if I'm being honest. Really good stuff, which to me that EP has some of the band's best work. And then we had the final album with Lance Staley, the self-titled album. Then we got a compilation album, Nothing Safe. Then we got Live, which is, of course, a live album. Then we got another compilation album, Greatest Hits. Then the band returns in 2009 with Black Gives Way to Blue, their first album with William Duvall. Then we got The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here, which to me I think is the weakest of the Duvall albums, but still solid though. And then we will be moving to my favorite album so far with the William Duvall lineup, Rainier Fog. Pretty good album. But yeah, that's it for Alice in Chains. Next we have Mad Season. Really good stuff. If you haven't heard it, definitely give it a listen, especially if you're a fan of Lane Staley. But now we'll be moving to Nirvana, starting off with their debut album, Bleach. Then we have a big one here with Nevermind, which is definitely a pretty iconic album and definitely big for a reason. Of course, you're going to have your people that are going to make the argument that this is overrated or overplayed and stuff like that. But for me, I think this album actually lives up to the hype. I think all the praise that it gets is definitely well deserved. I think this is a really great album, and of course my favorite Nirvana album. I know you're gonna have your people that'll go with In Utero, which I mean I get it. In Utero is good too, but for me, I definitely lean more towards Nevermind. Front to back, to me, I think it is their best. Really good album. But next we have Incesticide. Then we got In Utero, which I think is a solid album. Then the last Nirvana CD here, we have Icon, which is a compilation album. Yeah, that's it for Nirvana. Let's go ahead and move on to Pearl Jam, starting off with a CD single, Jeremy. Then we got their iconic album, 10, definitely one of the band's best. And then we have Go, which is another CD single, a song from their second album, Versus. Yeah, next we have Versus. I'm going to be honest, when it comes to Pearl Jam, this album and 10 kind of go back and forth for being my favorite Pearl Jam album. I absolutely love Versus. It's just raw and heavy, and that album to me definitely has some of the band's best songs for sure. But next we have Vitology, another pretty good album from them. Then we have No Code, which I think is easily the weakest of their 90s material, but still a decent album though. A bit more experimental, you could say, but still, I think it's a decent album. But next we have Given to Fly, which is a CD single. Then we have Yield, which is another album I think is one of their best. This would be their final album in the 90s. And then we will be entering the 2000s with Binaural, if I pronounced that correctly. And then we got Riot Act, which to me is one of their weaker albums, if I'm being honest. But I Am Mine, that's a pretty good song off that album. Then we got the self-titled album, which I think is easily the best when it comes to their 2000 work, their 2000s albums. And then we got Backspacer. Lightning Bolt. Sirens probably being my favorite off of that album. That's a pretty good song. Then we have Gigaton. When it comes to their albums after the 90s, I think this album might be the best one. It'd either be this one or the self-titled for me. But, yeah. Gigaton, decent album. The next we have Dark Matter, which, I'll be honest, I'm personally not too big on this album. Maybe I'll have to give this album another listen at some point. But as of now, not bad, just kind of meh for me. The album, it was an album that didn't really stick with me after I gave it a listen, or a couple listens, however you want to put it. But yeah, that's it for Pearl Jam. Let's go ahead and move on to Soundgarden, which, if I'm being honest, when it comes to the grunge era, this band might have my favorite singer when it comes to, well, again, grunge, and that is Chris Cornell. Always loved this guy's voice. Of course, rest in peace. But starting off, we have this one here, Screaming Life, FOP, which, if I remember correctly, is an EP. And then we have Ultra Mega OK. And then we have Louder Than Love. Then we have one of my favorite albums of all time. And honestly, when it comes to grunge in general, this is my favorite album from that whole movement, or from that whole era, and that is Bad Motorfinger by Soundgarden. Love this album. This is honestly one of my favorite albums of all time. It's an album that for me never gets old. When it comes to a front to back album listen, I mean, I think it is easily Soundgarden's best, and yeah, really good stuff. But then we have Super Unknown, another pretty good album for them. Another album I think is one of their best. Then we got this one, I believe this is a compilation, songs from the Super Unknown. Then we have Down on the Upside, which for a while was their final album until they came back with this album, King Animal. And that's it for Soundgarden. Let's go ahead and move on to Stone Temple Pilots, starting off with Core. Definitely a really great debut album. My second favorite album from them. We're about to move to my number one favorite, and that album is Purple. Love this album. Maybe one of my favorite albums of 1994. Really strong album. And then we have Tiny Music, songs from the Vatican Gift Shop. And then we have number 4. And then we're moving to an album that I feel honestly deserves more love. I mean, it's not top shelf Stone Temple Pilots, but I still think it is a good album. And again, kind of underrated. And it is this album right here, Shangri-La Da. An album I think, again, deserves more love. I think it's actually pretty solid. And to me, honestly, their last good album. But next we're moving to a compilation album, Thank You. Then we have the self-titled album, their final album with Scott, and I'll be honest, I'm not too big on this album. Maybe at some point I'll give it another listen, another chance, but as of now, personally I'm not too big on it. Then we have the High Rise EP, their only release with Chester Bennington, another singer that's one of my favorite singers of all time. Yeah, High Rise EP. And then we have their second self-titled album, this album right here, the first album with Jeff Goot, if I pronounced his name right. I'll be honest, I'm not too big on the albums that they've done so far with Jeff Goot. I think he is a good singer. He does have a good voice. It's just the song that they've made, or the album that they've made so far. Personally, I'm just not too big on what we've gotten so far. But then we have Perdita, if I pronounced that correctly, which is their most recent album. But that's it for Stone Temple Pilots. Now for the final CD here, we have, of course, Temple of the Dog with Temple of the Dog. And yeah, that is my CD collection for Alice in Chains, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots, and more. Let me know your thoughts on my collections here in the comment section below. Let me know what CDs you have from these bands, and let me know if you've seen any of these bands live and all the good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and a like, subscribe. Have a nice day, and take care.